Welcome to the Filmsteins, the double feature podcast. Join us as we unravel the interwoven experience of the continuous conversation of cinema. Take part in pairing movies with their cursed counterparts, movies that share DNA, or even pairing questionable duos by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films to further the discussion. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to join the 100-year conversation. This is the Filmsteins, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience.
They're an experience.
All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Filmsteins. Thank you guys for joining us today. Today I am joined by my pop star friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
Remember, we post every Monday and Friday with brand new episodes of the Filmsteins, and every other Wednesday for Patreon exclusive episodes. Like our recent Patreon exclusive episode, where we ranked the Saw franchise. Some of the recent episodes include Deadpool and Wolverine, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Back to the Future, and Forrest Gump. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas on our Patreon as well. Come subscribe, come request a movie, go rate us on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much.
Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at HempvilleCBD.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
But today we will be talking about M. Night Shyamalan's 2024 release, Trap. We got 2 Shyamalan films this year, both about equally as good.
Damn.
But I will say right off the top that I enjoyed watching Trap much more than The Watchers. I like how M. Night writes his characters a little bit more. Not that they're very character-y, but he has weird dialogue. He makes his actors do weird things. And in Trap, with Cooper here, he especially felt like this strange, like mid-2000s RPG character, talking to different NPCs, and he's just living in his own world. Like someone would say something, and his response would be a little bit delayed or something, and just kind of not super sensible.
Yeah, I definitely get what you mean. And in this particular movie, it could almost play off as it's too loud in here. So you know when a place is too loud, you kind of have that delayed second to answer somebody because you got to process what they said.
Sure.
But that's in a lot of his other films when there's no concert. So,
Yeah, I guess in a lot of his other films, and I'm especially thinking from some of his other films like The Happening and maybe The Visit, and I want to say Old too, there's this Lynchian quality to the dialogue that's just weird and bizarre. It's not quite Lynchian, don't get me wrong here.
I think you can say it's Lynchian and The Visit and maybe Old, but not The Happening or Lady in the Water. It's almost like the dialogue, and I'll probably cover this in a little bit here, but it's almost like the dialogue has to fit with the tone and the rest of the movie. And if it doesn't, then it's completely off.
But I like what you're saying about it being too loud, because it's not too loud for us, but I can kind of see how he's trying to emulate that feeling a little bit, because he also taps into that a little bit from Cooper's perspective on the floor when they're watching Lady Raven. We just see Lady Raven from his perspective, so it's mostly just screen and a tiny little Lady Raven. So we're just in the audience, and it's pretty boring because we're just standing there with him.
Yeah, we're a dad.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny from that way. So I get that. But you're a big stan for M. Night, like I am, I think. What do you think of his new movie?
I was super excited for this movie when I saw the trailer. I didn't know he was having a movie come out this year. No big secret, I'm a big M. Night fan. But this wasn't his best movie. It was okay. It was watchable. A bit enjoyable at times. I'm not mad I saw it at the movie theater, but if I had known that this was what I was about to experience, I maybe would have wanted to see it at home. I wouldn't call this a big blockbuster film to go see at the movies, but I like the premise of this serial killer taking his daughter to a concert. That's kind of funny, but the execution for me was a bit dull. I felt like I was watching a concert a lot of the times.
Yeah, we spent way too much time watching the concert.
Wasn't expecting that, didn't like that. And it's sad because he not only directed this movie, but wrote it and produced it. And our movie watching experience has shown us that there's this trend when a director writes and produces and is very involved in his own film, we tend to have something phenomenal, at least from what we've seen. I did want to give him a shout out though, just like what a good dad he is. Not only for including his daughter, Salika, in this film, but also supporting Ishana's The Watchers. There's a few reviews out there calling it nepotism, and I don't like that. I don't think that's the case here. Because I guess to me, nepotism is kind of implying that you're taking something away from somebody else to give it to your family member. But here I feel like he's a badass dad that's creating something to allow his family to be a part of. You know, not like Kim Kardashian letting her daughter perform Simba in The Lion King, taking it away from kids that were actually good.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There's a spectrum there you're identifying. I've never really thought about it like that. But M. Night is flexing his privilege.
Yes.
Which, of course, taps into some kind of nepotism, but his production house made this film happen. I'm sure he funded this for the most part.
Yeah.
He directed it. He wrote it. That's pretty badass that he can orchestrate such a thing, not just for his daughter, but she kind of did become the star of it.
Yeah.
Take advantage of your privileges.
Take advantage of your privileges. Yes. Don't beat someone down for something, but if your daddy has money, let your daddy take care of you.
And don't feel bad about it.
And don't feel bad about it. I also like this very fine line that we walk, knowing Cooper's a serial killer, but we're also still kind of rooting for him to escape. Is that just me? I don't know.
Well, I'm rooting for something just to happen because we spend an hour and 30 minutes running around this concert, and it was kind of funny that we just watched Deadpool 2 because he reminded me a lot of Domino, Lady Luck, I think she went by, where he just constantly would have these lucky moments of dodging the police and having eyes on him and stuff. The movie completely fails at making him look like the smartest guy in the room or any kind of mastermind person that is worth, doing what the cops did in this movie with surrounding the building with hundreds of police and treating this guy like he's the nation's most wanted guy.
So you're not rooting for him to escape?
I'm rooting for anything to happen because he just would leave and come back to his seat, leave and come back. I'm just like, man, something happened.
But did you want him to escape? Just that feeling of knowing this guy's a bad guy, but there's something inside you that's like, I want you to get away with this. Until the end, of course. Till I saw the end, and of course I did not want him to get away with anything he's done. And we also don't see a lot of his criminal work, which is important, I think. The visuals in the movie look good. That's very obvious. But we were missing a little bit of his iconic symbolism. Maybe I just didn't notice. Maybe it requires a rewatch. But he tends to have these either vivid colors like in The Village or the symbolism in The Sixth Sense with the use of color. I didn't get the jarring symbolism in this movie. And it affected the tone of the movie. I can't quite get the tone because it wasn't suspenseful for me like it should have been. It just felt a little flat. I wasn't at the edge of my seat. Although I did enjoy what I was watching, I didn't feel what I was watching. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
No, I totally agree because I think I share the exact same sentiment. I enjoyed watching this movie much more than The Watchers, although I can also say that this movie's just as bad as The Watchers. This movie was much more enjoyable from a performance and camera point of view, and the weird twist of his daughter was the main character the whole time.
Killing me. Oh, good. And here I was thinking, what is the twist of this movie?
It was right in front of you the whole time on stage.
It was right in front of me on stage. You're gonna make me cry.
No, what the twist should have been, if we're gonna open up this can of worms, is not so much a twist, but a thing that was more or less built towards, and that is this FBI profiler agent lady being his mom, maybe, because we have this weird emphasis on his mommy issues brought up through a few different avenues, and especially when we're told at one point that people like Cooper are normal to everyone else, except maybe when their kids, their mom or dad or whatever, picks up on their abnormalities.
Yeah.
It almost seemed obvious that the FBI lady should have ended up being his mom. And in my mind, that seems to kind of fit the M. Night bill. Maybe I know M. Night better than himself now. But I'm also trying to think, do M. Night films build towards their twist? That's kind of the fun element of a lot of his twists, is they come out of left field. You know, The Sixth Sense, maybe not. It's a little bit more built through its symbolism, like you were saying.
But The Village, the big twist is this old school town is actually living in modern society, and you don't find that out until the end. That wasn't really built into the plot, like you're saying. I agree. This plot tries to have some depth by making him have these mommy issues and trying to make you think like, oh man, some kind of psychological thing is going on here. But it doesn't do it successfully, so it's hard to find that deeper meaning. Or maybe it needs to be more in my face like it is with Split. I'm not sure. But I did see a review by somebody in the YouTubes mentioning that that lady, that FBI profiler, is his mom. So it wasn't obvious in the film whether it was or wasn't, but I think people out there are getting that vibe.
Well, I think they're getting that vibe because that's what was built towards. And
what it
there
should
was
be.
no delivery on that.
Yeah. And speaking of no delivery, we also have this other B plot with his daughter getting bullied and these other girls. It doesn't go anywhere. I don't understand the point of this. Were we trying to give the daughter a little bit more of a character? Not sure. But that scene where Cooper and the little girl's mom have that confrontation, it's super weird. And again, trying to give this plot more emotion than what's actually there.
It's almost like, what kind of obstacles come up when you're at a concert? You run into someone you know, shitty seats, can't find the bathroom, drunk people, yeah. Running out of merch. Losing your stuff, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's only so many things, right?
Stealing stuff.
Stealing, getting robbed, maybe, I don't know. Getting your seat taken.
Well, he stole the bracelet from somebody, you know, that snap bracelet to hide his tattoo.
Oh, that's true. So I can't help but to think, okay, we need Coop to run into someone. So you really only run into two options, and that is a child at the concert who is probably with their parent, and then we can just have Coop run in to the parent, because that's going to make Coop any more awkward situation to just leave. You know, if it was just a kid, he could just wave and be out. But if it's the mom, he all of a sudden has to be polite or some shit.
Right.
So there's this try at some element of tension, but then we focus on them, which I guess is just a moment of comedy. When Riley goes on stage and the friend and the friend's mom, you know, have a little thing up in the...
Oh, up in the stands where they're screaming at each other's face.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah, one of the weirdest things to me, too, in this movie was when Cooper and Riley were on the concert floor and one of the feature artists came out of the ground in this thing, like scissor lift type thing. And Cooper's like, you know, I really wonder what's under the stage. Don't you want to come and check it out with me? It's just like, that is so fucking weird for you to say.
Yes. And the daughter acknowledges that. She says, why are you being so weird right now? But it's a level of weird that is concerning.
Yeah.
It's not like a you're being weird right now moment. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You know, they mentioned nobody can tell these kinds of people are different than regular folks and stuff. I'm just like, man, I can tell Cooper's different. Trust me.
And there's another scene similar to that. It just gave me weird vibes. Was when he pushed that girl down the stairs. That whole sequence was weird. I mean, first of all, no one saw him push her. He didn't do it like they're walking by and he pushed her and they keep walking, you know?
He went straight up to her.
He went straight up to her,
shoved
her ass, and went back to his daughter. Like, he didn't even make it look like he was heading that way. It's like M. Night said, all right, go, push her. He went, pushed her, went back to his retake, little tape on the ground.
It's like the universe is throwing obstacles in Cooper's way, and Cooper's like, all right, now I gotta throw some obstacles in the universe's way. It's like, all right.
All right, Cooper.
This is fucking weird.
Yes, and then he pushes her, and then it's like, Riley, let's go outside. Like, what? Okay, all right, we'll roll with it. And Riley's like, I don't really want to go outside. And then he sees the cops. He's like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to go outside. That whole interaction was weird as fuck. There were a lot of weird as fuck interactions. And I know Cooper's character is supposed to be weird. He's supposed to be giving off weird vibes.
But is he? He's supposed to be normal and indistinguishable.
But he's supposed to be normal and indistinguishable and kind of charming. Because he's supposed to be charming enough to get away with these things he does. No one suspects him because he's so good at it. So I don't know. And then we had several other girls throughout the film collapsing. They were a little too drunk. I don't know what that was about. I think it happened one or two other times. Is this a joke that little girls are always collapsing at concerts? I don't know. Because there's a bit of humor in here that I like, and I'll get back to it. But I didn't understand if this was just an eerie element or a humorous element. Not sure how it added to the plot as a whole. Because at one point I thought that might be a next victim, like a little girl or something. Just with how fast they were dropping.
Yeah, I don't know. But you reminded me of, like, when that girl at the concession stand kitchen gets her face blown up with grease.
Yeah.
There's a funny sequence of events that happen there. But why in the world did she just look at the grease with those bottles in it? Like, there was a solid 5 or 6 seconds of us just looking at it with her. Like, I would have been like, oh shit, and then get out of there, you know
duck,
what I mean?
You run, yeah, something, you react somehow.
But right after that, it's another distraction that Coop creates for some reason. It's an awkward one. He takes the apron, leaves his jacket, and goes to the roof, right? That's that sequence.
Yeah.
And he comes back down and we don't see him take the apron back and stuff. But in the next scene or two, he has that jacket again. So he must have gone back, picked up his jacket, and I assume probably left the apron too, but he went to the scene of the crime. It's just like, what is that? That's weird.
Funny. I didn't notice that. And I know he's supposed to be creating this distraction because this is a clever distraction, you know? he hears that FBI profiler lady say he's gonna create an obvious distraction like a fire alarm or whatever. So now he's gotta get clever with his distraction.
And that's probably one of the best parts of the movie, is
Yeah.
that little sequence of him just looking at the fire alarm.
In several reviews I read / watched, there seems to be this consensus that the first part of the movie was better than the latter. Do you agree with that? Because I don't know if I do.
No. I think it's all about the same.
It all sucks.
No, not necessarily, but it's not great. But it's more of the same at the end there. We all of a sudden have this strange hijacking of the movie with our new main character. But it's this rinse and repeat of him escaping out of situations and getting lucky over and over and over again. It's just like, all right, we're out of the concert and this is still happening. It's the exact same thing happening. We get a little bit more of a performative thing, I guess, when he goes back to the house. When his wife is staying there by herself, somehow he wanders in. They send, 1,500 cops to the concert, but they can't send, 7 or 8.
Well, that was on purpose, right? That was to trap him?
Sure. That's fine.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's probably the best part of the movie, when they have their interaction. He eats the pie, and there's a twist for you. She laced it with his own drugs.
Is that the twist? Is that the twist I'm
Well, I'm
waiting
telling
for?
you, the twist is M. Night's daughter was the main character the whole time.
Yeah. I don't want to say that's a lame twist,
It's lame.
but it's not as punchy as I like his twists.
Like, I didn't love Old, but I did love the twist. Alright? I liked Old probably about as much as this movie, but the twist was awesome in Old.
There's a few aspects of the later half of the movie that I really like. Were they executed very well? I don't know about that, but I liked them. I like this idea of Lady Raven getting on social media and having people help her find the victim that's locked up in the basement. It gave me vibes of that Netflix series, Don't Fuck with Cats, and where we have the whole internet working together to find a killer. It was a bit awkward how it happened. Not sure if that was Salika's fault. Not sure if this is her first film either. I know she sings, but I don't know if she acts.
Yeah, I don't think her performance was super well done. But it was just especially weird, her resorting to social media when the cops were such an essential piece to this movie.
That is weird. That is weird.
Because I do like the challenge of the internet's more powerful than a police force.
Yeah.
Which we know is very true if the internet can get on the same page.
But we didn't have that conflict here.
Yeah, but that wasn't really
Yeah.
a thing. And now all of a sudden you're making it a thing because social media is a very accessible tool from every device.
That's true. That's a good point. I did feel like the later half of the movie finally had a tone. It finally got me a little bit more riled up than the beginning of the movie. Although I was expecting the family to be in on it.
That would have been a fun twist.
Or the mom to have been in on it.
What I was hoping was the mom was doing her own thing. She was being her own criminal, killing folks. Had her secret life outside of her home life and didn't know Coop was doing this. And then Coop finds out that she's also doing it. And there's like this whole thing.
That would have been awesome. Because you can see that going that way when she's looking at a live feed on her laptop of something going on. I forgot what it was. But you kind of get this vibe that, is she in on something? Like, I'm suspicious of you now. But that didn't happen. And we also have this moment when Lady Raven is sitting in the living room and she's like saying facts about the butcher. And the mom looks at Cooper like for a split second. And I thought that was because she was in on it. But now that I know, it's because she suspected him. I guess that was a twist. Was it?
Yeah, sure. And there's some good nuance in that direction. But this isn't a, gripping crime thriller.
Yes.
So the shifty eyes and the subtext isn't super essential, if there's any at all. That's never been an M. Night specialty.
Subtext?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing.
What's also not an M. Night specialty is his dialogue. The dialogue isn't great in this movie, and the dialogue's not exactly great in his other films either. Or at least it doesn't stand out. Maybe I shouldn't say it's not great. But a lot of his dialogue is just to really drive the plot forward. We don't have any deep messaging or whatever in his dialogue. And I know you mentioned earlier that it's like a video game character, which is funny because I didn't know if it was just the bad acting or what was going on here that made me feel like that.
I think his performance actually does some of the dialogue justice because it's so weird and he's just weird. So it starts to sell itself, but it just doesn't go anywhere. That's my main issue.
Yeah, some of the interactions are weird with him and other characters.
Because the biggest performative thing we get out of him is when he's talking to Lady Raven in the car and she's like pretending to be his mom to kind of trigger something. And it's just bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But at least this film had some fun. I think my favorite scene is in the beginning when they're all cheering, thinking that Lady Raven is about to come out of the tour bus, and they all start cheering really loud and stuff, and then it's not her, it's a security guard, and that just cracked me up. That was so funny. And then she actually came out. I didn't know how far we were going to play the joke, because there were 3 tour buses there, but I would have laughed at all 3 scenarios. And I also thought the end credit scene was hilarious with that merch guy realizing he helped him.
There's this weird emphasis on some funny bits that I wish we could have just got more of. Like
him being obsessed with crime shit.
Like maybe making Cooper just funnier in some way or another. Make his awkwardness lead to funny situations. I'm not sure. But there was a weird emphasis on comedy.
Yeah, there was definitely some underlying tones there, especially with the merch guy being into crime and saying that he's obsessed with watching these things like many of us are. And then here he is helping a serial killer like it's nothing. It was funny.
Do you like the premise? The cops setting up this sting operation to get a, FBI most wanted kind of character at a concert. Loud, lots of people. It could be anyone.
Oh, I love the premise. And I mentioned a little bit in the beginning that I really liked this concept of a serial killer taking his daughter out doing normal shit like many dads take their little girls to a Taylor Swift concert. This is what you just do as a dad. And then having this singer, maybe keeping this Taylor Swift scenario in my mind, having a singer like Taylor Swift being involved in this sting operation. I mean, I absolutely love the premise. That's why I loved the trailer. Because I was just like, what? Even though watching the trailer, I didn't know who was going to be the killer. Although you obviously did, and you and many others on the internet. I was just, I guess, dumb. I'm dumb for not realizing it. And then it was very explicitly said in the beginning of the movie, which, okay, all right, I get it now.
Yeah, it may have helped if they drug that along a little bit. I'm not sure.
Maybe. For people like me who don't get things that fast.
Yeah, we just watched Back to the Future, and, big thing is Marty realizing that his parents are people too. But Coop's like, here are some of my interests.
I did see an interview with M. Night, and he said this was his fastest screenplay he's ever written.
I can tell.
And then so maybe he should have spent a little bit more time on it. I'm not sure. I also saw that his daughter was a big influence for this movie. the first thing they did together for this movie was work on the music and had the whole soundtrack that she wrote and sang by herself, which makes sense on why the concert is a big focus on the film, because that's where the idea stemmed from. So I can see that. And I also saw that it was a real concert that they performed. M. Night's daughter was performing out there. They had a real crowd, which is cool. I can't tell to save my life whether a crowd is real or not in movies. No clue whatsoever. But that's awesome.
All right, man. Well, thank you for watching that movie with me and talking about it here today.
You're welcome.
Do you have a budget guess?
My budget guess is $50 million. Knock at the Cabin had a budget of $25 million, I believe. And there wasn't a lot going on in that film as far as set designs and stuff. But here we have an actual freaking concert. We have merch that they probably had to produce. I'm not sure how that works, but there was a lot of people. There was a lot going on. I'm doubling that budget.
Yeah, I want a Lady Raven t-shirt. That'd be cool, right?
That would be cool.
Like the one Riley was wearing where it's kind of a full body print.
Or the one she wanted where it was, I think, just Lady Raven's face faded.
Yeah. Well, it says here that it was $30 million.
Wow. He sure knows how to spend.
Well, when it's his own money, you know.
That's true. That's very true.
And so far it's went on to make $46.1 million. So we'll see. Hopefully it does okay so it can fund the next thing. I very much look forward to the next M. Night movie.
I do too. This didn't knock him off my favorite director list.
No, definitely, because he isn't afraid to take risks. You know, when he makes another After Earth or Avatar, you know, maybe I can throw some stones on that scale, but the effort definitely doesn't go unnoticed. M. Night's movies of this caliber are better than still 99% of other movies that are on this level. This is a guilty pleasure movie for some folks, no doubt. I guess everything is to some degree, right? But
nah, you have your obvious classics.
I feel like that's true, but over on Letterboxd with 188,000 people, they weighed in at a 2.9.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what my score is. I know I'm in the 2s. Not sure if it's 2.5. Just premise alone, this movie has so much originality that I like it, but the execution just failed on so many levels.
Yeah, this is a solid 2 for me, just like The Watchers. Not a great movie, almost a bad movie. But yeah, man, thank you for discussing this movie with me, and thank you guys for listening to this episode of The Filmistines. I hope you guys enjoyed some of that. Remember, we post every Monday and Friday with brand new episodes of The Filmistines. And every other Wednesday on patreon.com/Filmistines for Patreon exclusive episodes. Our next episode, regular episode, will be on the Christopher Nolan film, Memento. I hear it's a goodie, but that's what they say about all his shit, so.
That's true.
If there's one director who is overrated, it's our boy Chris Nolan.
Tim Burton. Oh,
No, Tim Burton's not even in that conversation. But yeah, I hope you guys look forward to that. I have a feeling I'm not gonna like it. That's a bad attitude to have?
That's a bad attitude
isn't it?
to
Yeah,
have.
I'm gonna change that attitude.
Yes. It's gonna be a great film.
But remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas on our Patreon as well. Come subscribe, come request a movie, go rate us on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate all the support. Thank you guys very much. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of The Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives in the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon, at patreon.com/Filmistines. And follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is The Filmistines, signing off.